Coming up on Nittany Game Week.
Their instincts and courage have to be off the charts.
Not easy to stand between the pipes and face shots up to 100 miles per hour. We give you a graduate level course on the finer points of lacrosse.
Who you are in hard times shows a lot.
The baseball team is in a tough stretch of the season. What they need to do to keep momentum in their dugout. And hot dogs on a cold evening. Fans bundle up to unwrap their dollar dinners at the ballpark. It's time for Nittany Game Week. We reach a very important stretch of the season for the spring sports. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week.
Yeah, that's right, Todd. Some of PSU's programs are about to reach the postseasons. Others still have a good chunk of the regular season in front of them.
That includes the baseball team with a schedule that takes them through mid-May before they worry about the Big Ten tournament. First stop is the Diamond in our opening drive. When you have over 50 games to play, a team will go through some peaks and valleys. After nabbing the first of a 3-game set with USC at home, the Nittany Lions dropped 3 consecutive games, including a poor performance against Delaware on their home field. Sometimes it's not the losing that can irritate the coach, it's the way a team falls short in a game. Coach Gambino says in these types of moments, it's time to challenge the guys and remind them of the expectations every time they take the field.
When things are going well for this group, they are unselfish, they're great teammates. You know, all the things we talk about culturally that I mentioned before, gratitude and grit, and energy and execution edge and all those things. And when things go sideways, they get away from that. Who you are in hard times shows a lot.
The PSU is hosting Purdue for a 3-game series this weekend. More than 15 games to go in the regular season before the Big Ten tournament begins on May 19th. Now, of course, they taste better with a victory. $1 and some ketchup or mustard will do just fine on Tuesday night home games in Happy Valley. 22 wins in their first 35 games is impressive for the baseball squad, but these numbers are staggering. $5 dog nights so far, and PSU fans have already consumed 27,212 hot dogs. Even on a cold, blustery night, hot dogs bring them out to the ballpark. Almost 1,300 fans for this week's Dollar Dog Night, and they average about 2 dogs per fan. Shouldn't be a surprise in a college town. Students are always looking for affordable options for a meal. But forget looking forward to the weekends. These fans know exactly when their Nittany Lions will be at home on a Tuesday night.
This is the first Tuesday I was able to get out here, but I mean, I saw there's a game. I know it's Dollar Dog Night. I love my hot dog, so I had to get out here.
Dollar Dog Night is awesome because I always have something to look forward to on a Tuesday, and the weather just means the lines are shorter.
$1 for a dog, what else can you ask for? You know, having the option to just come on a random Tuesday and kind of see the team play, I think it just makes the students more involved, and I think it's a great opportunity for everyone.
And if you missed out and are craving a dollar dog, you can check out the Nittany Lions this Tuesday night, April 22nd at home against West Virginia.
And here's what we know about the football team's annual blue and white game. It's happening next Saturday, April 26th at 2 o'clock and will not be televised. What we don't know still is the exact format and which players will get a chance to watch on the field. Not a big deal, though. The big draw is the chance to tailgate in the spring and hopefully enjoy some fantastic late April weather. The blue-white game is often a chance to get a first look at a new backup quarterback, some fresh faces at running back, or on the defensive side of the ball, the guys have a limited number of practices to focus on getting better.
To me, it means everything. It's my last year. It's my last year with Coach. It's my last year with these guys. So it's definitely got to leave it all out there. And for myself, leave it all out there for not only me personally, but then for the room as well.
Oh, confidence. Everything confidence. So repetition on a lot of things that you don't use or different moves you want to try in the fall. You earn that in the spring. You got to keep repping it so you can become confident to use it for fall camp.
The coaching staff is trying to keep their veteran players healthy and make sure to take a good long look at the new talent to give them a proper evaluation. And while football gets ready to gear up for a successful season, there's a team in blue and white looking to finish what they started on the national stage. The men's gymnastics team has had a stellar season, most recently crowned as Big Ten champs. Now their eyes are set on a national title. Led by Nissen Emory finalist and Erie, Pennsylvania native Josh Carnes, Penn State comes in as the 5th ranked team in the tournament, hosted in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Michigan. They will look to take down defending 4-in-a-row champ Stanford, a feat they did achieve this regular season and one they will draw from to be crowned the country's best for the first time since 2007.
The last time we saw the men's hockey team, they were in the handshake line, congratulating Boston University on their Frozen Four semifinal victory. A historic season comes to a close for the blue and white, not before they receive a top 5 ranking in the college hockey polls for the first time. Now, this is the video most people will remember the most from the Allentown Regional for the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. The Nittany Lions had never advanced past this stage before. That is until Matt DeMarsico scores the overtime winner against UConn to propel Penn State to their first ever Frozen Four. We'll give the final words of the season to outgoing 5th-year senior Jimmy Dow Jr.
Just to be able to wear the Penn State crest for the past 5 years, it means everything to me. And like for guys to take a chance on an undersized guy like me and put that trust in me, it really means the world. I really can't put it into words these past 5 years, but just every single guy that's come to this program and the group of guys that we had this year, like I knew was special the second we all got together at the beginning.
Now, what a career for the upperclassmen as they help take the program to new heights.
Coming up next, we give you a lacrosse crash course. Jay Paterno and men's lacrosse head coach Jeff Tambroni take the field and educate in our roadmap to victory. Don't go anywhere. Nittany Game Week. We'll be right back.
Roadmap to Victory is sponsored by the R&R family of companies.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. We have a graduate level course for you this week in our Roadmap to Victory. Our very own Jay Paterno takes a walk across the lacrosse field with men's head coach Jeff Tambroni.
Yeah, from the intricacies of the face-off to the mindset of an ideal goalie, the two talk about it all to help turn you into a lacrosse pro.
There are certain things in this game that are really interesting. Let's start off, every possession starts with the face-off. How tough is it? How important is it to win the face-off consistently?
Yeah, you know, it's just one of those things in our game. It's like basketball way back in the day when they used to have a jump ball after every possession, and you know, it certainly pivots or changes the trajectory of a game based on possession. So if you have someone in here, and I would equate it to like you get a great wrestler in here that can just compete one-on-one. You know, you can start every possession with the ball in your offensive end. So he's got to be quick, he's got to be tough, he's got to be good off the ground. And then he has 2 guys on each side of him, the wing guys. So the key is after every goal or at the end of every start of every possession, at the end of every quarter, you get 2 guys out here and you're just basically scrapping it up. So if you have a decent or an elite face-off guy in that realm, that's a huge advantage for your team.
So let's be optimistic you got the face-off. So now as we get the face-off, a lot of times the guy gets a face-off is getting off the field. What insight do you want to give them about how that happens?
It's become so specialized in our sport that the face-off midi typically just wins the ball, moves the ball down to your offensive end, and then he gets off the field. Now we put our offensive specialists on the field. So there will be 3 attackmen who stay on the field the entire time in the offensive end, and then we bring an offensive midfield, 3 guys.
How hard is it to keep track of who's in, who's out?
Thank gosh that's
when
not
the
me.
thing's really going back and forth.
So you'll see a guy standing over in what we call the box area. That's Coach Myers, and he doesn't watch most of the game. Most of the game he's just counting 1 in and 1 out, either keeping them on sides or making sure we got 6 guys in the offensive end and 7 when we're down there in the defensive end. It is a pain in the butt. It is a job that is a thankless job, because the only time you really notice it is when you got too many guys on the field. They're all sides, but Coach Myers does a great job with it.
Kind of like being a bouncer at doggies when they're at capacity, 2 in, 2 out, 1 in, 1 out.
Great comparison, yeah.
Let's turn around and go to defense now. So you get in the goal. I think one of the things is hockey fans that watch this, they look at a great elite hockey goalie, and they'll look at 91% save rate, 93% save rate, and it's dramatically different in lacrosse. It's much tougher. Like, what kind of numbers do you look for, and what's important for a guy that's got to protect the pipes?
So there's so much that goes along with the goalie position. So I'd say 60% would be an amazing save percentage. Their instincts and courage have to be off the charts. So they have to be courageous enough to stand in to, you know, a 95 to 100 mile an hour shot of a rubber ball that absolutely stings if that thing hits you, and in just a pass, let alone a shot. And their instincts have to be off the charts. They have to be able to react to balls coming at, 5 yards, 10 yards, typically, inside of 15 yards. It is, I think it's one of the hardest positions in sports, and certainly you can make an argument for the amount of knowledge that a quarterback has to have. But in terms of the courage and the instincts that a goalie in lacrosse has to have, it is an insanely challenging position, by far the most important position on the field.
Okay, now you've made the save.
Thank gosh.
You got the ball. The ride and the clearing, it's very different. There's the 10-man ride, different types of rides. What do you see coming out of here, and how vital is it? How much time do you spend working on that?
Yeah, so, once the ball is changing hands from a team's offense to a defense, either a shot save or they've turned the ball over, our defensive middies are usually transferring the ball on the offensive end or transferring themselves off the field to get offensive personnel on the field who handle the ball a little bit better. They have short sticks, not long sticks, and they're used to carrying the ball. Same thing on the other side. If you're riding, you're typically trying to do the opposite, trying to get your defensive personnel on the field. So you're getting your offensive middies off on the sidelines to the substitution box, and then getting your 3 defensive middies on. So most teams probably are a little bit more conservative in that route. They just want to get personnel back in their offense and defensive end. And then the teams that play a little bit more aggressively are what you said, the 10-man, where they'll actually bring a goalie out of the goal. It's a little less common, but they'll dare teams to shoot the ball from 80 or 90 yards away and just match up man-to-man all over the field, which it's a fun part of the game for sure. It makes it real exciting, challenging to clear against, but definitely some risk in that you leave the goal wide open and let people just see if they can shoot the ball from across the midline.
I heard you guys making a Jeter call. Okay, is that Yankee related?
Everything.
You don't have to give away what it is.
My answer is yes, 100%. So everything we do goes after my favorite athletes. So we have a Bird call, we have a Jeter call, we have a Jordan call, and every formation that follows their number. So we try to keep it real and memorable for guys. And the Yankees are definitely a part of our play rotation for sure.
And I'd be lying to you to say I didn't learn a thing or two from Coach Paterno and Coach Tambroni. My favorite, though, knowing what it takes to be a goalie and have the cojones to stand in that net. Amazes me every single time I see it.
Courageous, yes, I believe Coach used that word. That is an understatement. Men's Lax knocked off a couple of ranked opponents recently. They appear to be playing their best as they reach the postseason. Just ahead, our Impact interview, and we need to call in some legal help for this topic, how a massive NCAA settlement could change college sports forever. When we come back on Nittany Game Week.
Impact Interview is sponsored by the Pocono Mountains, where small-town charm meets big adventures. Book your trip today by visiting PoconoMountains.com.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. It is time now for our Impact interview, and perhaps no issue is impacting college sports quite like pending litigation. And to help us with that, a lot of people watching it, and help us with that is our guest this week, Luke Fedlam. And Luke, I don't usually have guests introduce themselves, but what I can say is you're a sports attorney, but you're wearing a lot of hats. Much like a lot of people, you're keeping a close watch on this issue. And from what sides of it, if you could explain to our viewers, are you keeping an eye on the pending litigation?
Absolutely, Todd. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me. And yeah, I really am wearing a couple hats. One, I'm a practicing attorney. I'm a non-agent sports attorney. So I lead the entertainment, sports, and media practice at Amundsen Davis Law Firm. But I also am the co-founder and managing partner of Advanced NIL, where we really focus on educating athletes all across the country as well. So in this whole context of this conversation, I get to see a lot of what's happening from a legal perspective from different views and different angles.
Let's just dive right into it. We've been hearing about the House versus the NCAA, the NIL settlement, and revenue sharing for a long time. And we've talked about that timeline with hearings in April. How big is this settlement for the future of college sports, and where are we at right now with where things are at?
Yeah, let's talk about it first and foremost, how big this settlement is just in general, right? And this is assuming that the settlement gets approved, which it looks like it will, and I'll talk about that in a second. This will be the largest antitrust settlement in U.S. history of any industry, because what we're talking about is $2.8 billion of back pay for those college student athletes from 2016 through 2024. But then also this permissive revenue share going forward, looking at around $20.5 million per school that opts in to this, all the P4s, but also the other schools that opt in for the next 10 years with escalators ratcheting that number up each year. This is a massive, massive proposed settlement, if assuming that it gets approved.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that $20 million total. There's a lot of athletic departments that are primed and ready to tackle that and move forward with that. But this settlement doesn't appear to cover things like employment status or collective bargaining. Will that get settled at some point in the future? And if not, we're looking at another lawsuit down the road?
Well, we currently have some lawsuits going on. So there's the Johnson case that is, it went up to the Third Circuit. It's gone back to the district court to really address the issue directly of whether or not college student athletes are employees. The National Labor Relations Board is hearing administrative hearings on this very same topic out on the West Coast with what's left of the Pac-12 and a couple schools out there. And then we know that Dartmouth men's basketball, they went through the process and they actually were certified as a union, but there's some appeals that are happening with that. So that notion of whether or not college student athletes are employees of their institutions is certainly being dealt with right now. There's a lot of conversation at the congressional level dealing with the federal government to see if there will be any laws that will come out that will directly state that student athletes are not employees. And really that notion of collective bargaining still rests on the shoulders of, are student athletes employees or not? If they're considered employees, then they can move towards this idea of collective bargaining, true collective bargaining. If they're not employees, I think it would be wise of the conferences and of the NCAA to at least allow student athletes' voices to be heard in some of the future decision making, so that we maybe don't see as many lawsuits and can have some collective growth as we look at the future of college sports.
Luke, you mentioned advanced NIL, and we're not just looking at a changing landscape in college sports. We're looking at continental shifts, and it's happening at warp speed. So I'm sure you have to be really upfront with the athletes and the families about, look, we're going to give you all the answers that we have, but these could be different, right, as we're coming about it. So how do you go about educating the athletes and the families from the point that we're at now and where we could be very quickly?
Yeah, it is an ongoing battle, really. And part of it is to help make sure that we're delivering real world practical education every day to student athletes, to families, to athletic administrators. In fact, my partner in Advance, Courtney Altimus, and I were on with over 800 parents from across the country that had registered for a Zoom, an educational Zoom, simply on where are things at with name, image, and likeness right now. We do digital education, and that education is constantly evolving because this sports world is changing so quickly. And here's one example, just to help make it real for all your viewers. 4 years ago, when name, image, and likeness, it's just actually, we're not even at 4 years yet, almost 4 years ago, when name, image, and likeness went into effect, one of the constants was that schools would not be involved. Schools, hands off, you cannot do deals with your student athletes. Collectives are a separate entity. The collectives can do the deal with the student athlete. Well, now with this proposed House settlement, schools are absolutely now going to do deals directly with student athletes. And so with that comes an understanding where families have to also understand, what is the school asking us to sign? What does that mean for termination or transfer? What does that mean if for sub-licensing of my rights to the school's partners? So these are all things that we're constantly trying to make sure that student athletes and their families are getting educated on. But at the same time, as these decisions are happening so fast, we have so many coaches and athletic administrators who are also trying to understand how all this change is happening and how best to prepare themselves as they too try to protect and work with student athletes.
Thank goodness we got smart people like Luke watching out what's going on. This is a really complicated issue, and we appreciate the few minutes to explain it to us. Make sure you go to NittanyGameWeek.com for the entire conversation, along with other web-exclusive content like our depth chart. Headed west, a pair of former Penn State hockey players are packing up for Western Canada. We'll look at the two guys who signed pro deals this week. Next, we're headed into the final minutes of Nittany Game Week.
The Nittany Game Week Depth Chart is brought to you by Burke and Bradley Orthopedics. Located in Pittsburgh, Burke and Bradley Orthopedics is a comprehensive sports medicine practice, providing patients with the most current and innovative approaches in diagnosis and treatment.
A couple of Penn State hockey players waste no time after the season ends. They're moving up to the pros, and both of them headed to Western Canada. Goaltender Arseny Sergeyev signs his entry-level deal with the Calgary Flames. Becomes the 12th Penn Stater to sign an NHL contract. The two-year, two-way deal is worth more than $860,000. Takes effect in the 25-26 season. Sergeyev played 33 games for the Nittany Lions, led the Big Ten with 4 shutouts.
And Sergeyev will be joined in Alberta in the Flames organization by Captain Simon Mack. Mack signed an amateur tryout agreement with the AHL's Wranglers for the rest of this season. Mack had one of the best seasons for a Nittany Lions blue liner this year. The defenseman had 30 points, 3 goals, and 27 assists, and was a plus 23. Mack's points tied the Penn State record for points by a D-man. He joins a Calgary club that has clinched a spot in the 2025 Calder Cup playoffs. And going pro makes those guys ineligible for the Dean's List, but men's basketball grad student Ace Baldwin Jr. qualifies, though. He's competing in the Portsmouth Invitational Tournament this weekend in Virginia. Baldwin wrapped his college career as the active D1 leader in steals. Big names such as Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman have played in this tournament. Our other honorees are all on the lacrosse field. Women's lacrosse senior Lauren Saltz and freshman Brooke Long were recognized by the Big Ten. Saltz was named midfielder of the week with a goal and assist on senior day against USC. Long was named freshman of the week, getting her first career hat trick on 4 shots in that same game.
And of course, we are not just a TV show. We bring all Nittany Lions together with our depth chart at NittanyGameWeek.com. We're connecting businesses that support the show with our viewers. The goal is to build a team that keeps our hometowns strong. We'll be covering all things Penn State athletics all the way through late May. We're having a bunch of fun covering the blue and white. Make sure to check out NittanyGameWeek.com for web-exclusive content. Still have over a month of shows to go. Make sure you check out past episodes on our website and submit some pride picks. For Ryan and the entire Nittany Game Week crew, I'm Todd Sadowski. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.